And we're going to begin the prayer and meditation portion with the aspiration from Shantideva. I'm going to recite the Shantideva verse, and as we are reflecting on it, maybe just take this moment to consider what your own aspirations are for this practice session, for your life, in a way that is good and true for you. May I be a guard for those without one, a guide for all who journey on the road. May I become a boat, a raft, or bridge for all who wish to cross the water. May I be an isle for those desiring landfall, and a lamp for those who long for light. May I be a bed for those who need to rest, and servant for all who live in need, like the earth and other great elements, and like space itself. May I remain forever to support the lives of boundless beings by providing all that they might need. Just so in all the realms of beings, as far as space itself pervades, may I be a source of all that life requires until beings pass beyond samsara's pain. So reflecting on that. And actually, while we're reflecting on this, let's just take a minute to touch into our meditation practice, finding our seat, grounded in our body, taking a few nice deep cleansing breaths all the way through the lungs, sensing that tidal rhythm. Breathing in, we relax the body. Breathing out, we clear the mind. In, relaxing body, out, clearing mind. And as we're watching the breath, we might try counting the breath up to 10 and then beginning again. Or if we have a practice we're already working with, we can work with what we have. One thing I can suggest is just we can imagine that movement of the breath like a jellyfish, which is floating on the surface of the water. And the surface of the water is that tidal volume of the breath. And so if we can stay attuned to the physical sensations of the breath within the body, that can help us to anchor in the here and the now. So let's just try that for a few minutes. Breathing through the lower body. Noting the tailbone where we're connected to the ground. Just breathing through, relaxing and softening the lower body so as to feel the earth supporting us. And from this place, taking a moment to envision our benefactors, all of those people who, through their kindness, has made our life possible. From the beginning of our lives, we've been surrounded by these blessings that are always pouring forth. So calling those to mind and receiving them now. Maybe calling to mind the love of our parents or grandparents, our brothers or sisters, our teachers or friends, those bodhisattvas and Buddhas who guide the path, the living Buddhas like the Dalai Lama who carry a wish of well-being for everyone. Whoever that might be, just calling them to your mind's eye, envisioning their bright faces, sensing and seeing that wish of love like a brilliant light that is emanating from them. And it touches our heart. Sensing and seeing that love like a brilliant light, making contact. Cleansing and healing the heart, expanding it, illuminating it so the heart is like this golden, life-giving sun. And that light then permeates every cell of our body, nourishing the bone marrow, shimmering through every pore of our skin. Allowing ourselves to receive it, basking in that like a puppy in sunlight, like a deer in the meadow. And so now, taking a minute to join them in that wish for our well-being, either repeating these phrases silently or just keeping that awareness within our heart and mind. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be held in loving kindness. Trusting that wish for your well-being more than any self-limiting thought. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be held in loving kindness. May I accept myself just as I am. May I experience the joy of being alive. May my heart and mind awaken. May I be well. May I be free. And now, just as we have wished for ourselves, extending this out through our metta practice, to everyone in the Sangha, everyone in our communities, and people of other families and other communities. People of this country and people of other countries. Birds in the air, fish in the water, all the creatures that share this earth with us. Sabe Sata Sukhi Hantu. May all beings be happy. Sabe Pana Sukhi Hantu. May all living things be happy. Sabe Buddha Sukhi Hantu. May all creatures be happy. Sabe Manasa Sukhi Hantu. May all humans be happy. Sabe Sata Avara Hantu. May all beings dwell in safety. May they be free from harm. Sabe Pana Avara Hantu. May all living things dwell in safety. May they be free from harm. Sabe Buddha Avara Hantu. May all creatures dwell in safety. May they be free from harm. Sabe Manasa Avara Hantu. May all humans dwell in safety. May they be free from harm. Sabe Sata Dukkha Mukantu. May all beings be free from suffering. Sabe Pana Dukkha Mukantu. May all living things be free from suffering. Sabe Bhuta Dukkha Mukantu. May all creatures be free from suffering. Sabe Manasa Dukkha Mukantu. May all human beings be free from suffering. May they have deep and natural peace. So in our Buddhist tradition, we know of Prajna Paramita, the womb of totality, which is wisdom, that is non-dual wisdom. We also can recognize the divine feminine through Kuan Yin, which is East Asian emanation of Avalokitesvaha, or of course the 21 forms of Tara. In the Christian tradition, there's Mary. So today I'm going to do just a bit of focus before the talk on this seventh Tara, Drolma Shenki Mitupma, who is the Tara who averts disasters and wars. And I think it feels appropriate because of what's going on in Garden Grove, California, that there is this potential calamity, and we can send our love and prayers for the occasion. That's in the 21 verses, it's this particular verse. There's at least 3 different versions of that Tara mantra. Sorry. I got a little activated there. So there's 3 different mantras, but this is the mantra used for the 7th Tara by Tara Mandalo. So I think it's a good source. And we can see that at the root of this mantra, it's the green Tara mantra, Om Tare Tutere Ture Soha. And then the additional syllables in the mantra, I'll take a moment to explain. Om, of course, is that primordial sound. Tara is pretty straightforward. Tutare, the liberator. Ture, swift liberator. Vajra, of course, that the diamond, the thunderbolt, the indestructible quality of reality. Taka is a seed syllable of fierce, purifying action. Hana is that ability to destroy obstacles and hindrances. Litsa is a seed syllable connected to wrathful, dispelling energy, commanding forces of obstruction to dissolve. Thought, of course, is an exclamation to destroy obstacles. And then Soha. So we'll do this mantra together. Om Tare Tutere Ture Vajra Takahana Litsafat Soha. 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 Tare tutre ture vajrataka hana litzafat 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 soha. So that's we're going to let that stand in for the 108 today. That's about half with extension of compassion to the people of Orange County. Many of the people in that Garden Grove area are Vietnamese refugees who, that first generation has lots of post-traumatic stress from the Vietnam War. And they've already suffered enough. That's such a beautiful Buddhist community. May they be well, may they be safe, may they be free from harm. May Tara protect them. So those are the traditional prayers we've done. There's the Bodhisattva, again, Tara, in this wrathful, protective form, the wisdom of darkness. So to the theme today that was originally chosen is this poem Sandokai. And the Sandokai, the title of it means that relation of the absolute and the relative. Here's the way that it begins. The mind of the great sage of India is intimately transmitted from west to east. While human faculties are sharp or dull, The way has no northern or southern ancestors. So the mind of the great sage of India is intimately transmitted from west to east. We understand that part pretty well, right? The great sage of being, of course, the Buddha, and the transmission in this case is referring to the sage Bodhidharma, who traveled from India to China to give the teachings. In India, there was, this great insight, and Bodhidharma traveled to China and brought a form of that great insight that connected to the Taoist tradition in China, and it became Chan. So there's an earthiness about that. 6 generations later, there was a student named Huineng, who was simply chopping wood and selling firewood in the village to support his widowed mother. He heard the verses of the Diamond Sutra being chanted by a monk. And when he heard the phrases of the Diamond Sutra, which are don't attach to anything that arises in the mind, he asked the source of the teaching, and this monk directed him to the temple that held the Bodhidharma's lineage. It was in the north of China. And so this 6th patriarch, Huineng, traveled from the south to the north. But in China at that time, the southern folks were considered to be a little bit backward. And when he came to that temple, the teacher asked him, you're from the south, to the how can I even teach you? And Huineng responded, in the human nature, there is north or south, but where in the Buddha Dharma is there north or south? So, of course, then this 5th patriarch understood that he had a superior student, and eventually gave to him the transmission of the lineage. So the Sendokai is helping us to distinguish between relative and ultimate truth. Just as Huineng used his clear insight to help to teach his teacher about the difference between ultimate and relative. The spiritual source shines clear in the light. The branching streams flow on in the dark. So this is important. This in the merging of the difference and the unity. How do we convey that relationship between the relative and the ultimate? This is inviting us. The branching streams flow on in the dark. That's the subterranean tacit knowing that we have. That which is deeper than we can fathom. It's the place of Prajna Paramita. And these teaching verses like Sandokai help us to access that level of knowing consciously. They're designed to derail our linear thought, our conceptual mind, so that we can connect to a deeper process that is at the core. And these lines are describing an inner process. It's like for every word that's written, there's a depth against which the oars of the boat strike. An inarticulate, tacit body of knowledge that is coming to light. There's so much of our conscious knowing, our explicit knowledge, that depends upon that tacit knowing, that ancient knowing that we have. the branching streams that flow on in the dark. That's the darkness of the dark Tara. And that's the place where the fierce compassion comes from, where that arises from. So this is a picture of sperm whales who are helping each other. There's a sperm whale that was photographed for the first time, giving birth. And these other entire pod of sperm whales came over to help. And what they are doing is they are taking turns holding the newborn sperm whale up to the surface of the water so that it can breathe. When sperm whales are born, they have negative buoyancy, which means if they're not held up, they will sink and they will not breathe. They will not survive. The mother sperm whale cannot do that on her own. But this large group of other sperm whales came together from wherever in the ocean they were, responding to her call, some of which were related to her, many of which were not. This innate, fierce compassion held off a pod of pilot whales that was ready to take the newborn and the mother as a snack. Consider that the survival of this sperm whale species has depended upon that innate, fierce compassion response. Every single of those whales depended upon a pod of whales to hold them up to the water surface to breathe at the beginning of life. So this is a picture of those whales from above on the surface. So we have that. We have that. In fact, scientists believe that we have that because they believe this behavior dates back to the last common ancestor of whales and humans, which is to say 30,000 years ago. In our traditions, some places in the sutras, you can see the reference to the Buddhas that came before Shakyamuni Buddha. What if one of those Buddhas was that whale ancestor, right? As I studied with these 13 indigenous grandmothers who represent the traditions that have held the wisdom, one of those indigenous grandmothers being a Tibetan grandmother, two of them being Lakota grandmothers, Hopi grandmother, Nepalese grandmother, they referred to what's called the original operating instructions. They said we all have that. You know, we all know when we get out of our own way what is the right thing to say or do. We all have that capacity. And in that situation, you know, at the beginning of life, or, you know, when there's the blood of the amniotic sac in the water, we know how to respond. So this week, I actually had been on a 1 week Vipassana retreat in lovely Crestone, Colorado. And I came back from that with a bit of a respiratory infection, as you can probably hear. but also with some good grounding in the Brahma Viharas, the limitless abodes of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So just after I was walking my dog, and I came across, of all things, there was a rabbit that had been hit by a car and was lying in the middle of the road. It had been happening just a few minutes before, most likely. But then when I looked closely, I saw there was somehow, separate from the mother's body, there was another small bundle, which at first I thought that is that her intestines. It can't be because it's moving independently. And what it was these two baby rabbits that were born by the force of that impact somehow, and that were still alive. And so at that moment, as I realized, I looked closer and I recognized that they, in fact, were still alive. I took my sweatshirt off and bundled them in it and took them home. And, quick did a bit of research and saw the thing to do is keep them warm and contact a wildlife rehab, which I did. And thankfully, the rehab was able to come to the house within, I think, about 25 minutes. And then to take them to a wildlife center where they could receive better care. But as I held them, every cell in my body wanted to respond, wanted them to live. It was instinctual. It's that compassion is not an idea. To say that that's our human heritage is even underestimating our fellow mammals. In the Aboriginal Australian tradition, there's a word kanini, which describes both the love that we have that connects us and also our responsibility, and the fact that those are inextricable from each other. We are caretakers. Sometimes the Dalai Lama has spoken. His Holiness says that the spirituality of kindness is even more primary than religion, because some people may or may not have religion, but we all have had that primary experience of being vulnerable and depending upon the kindness of others for our survival. That is intrinsically not different. We have had that experience of the preciousness of our life being safeguarded and caretaken by others. And then out of that, he says that can be the basis for the secular ethic of kindness, which is based upon that mutual vulnerability that we share, that we're hardwired for. That was a wake-up call for me. Of course, it helped that I had already been practicing, but that practice essentially helps us to get out of our own way so that we can do what is the right thing. What it is what it is to be a human being is to do the next right thing, which is to respond to the innermost request of the moment. This is a talk given by Norm Fisher, who's a teacher in my lineage, to say, why is practice important to help us to do that? He's based it on the movie Groundhog Day. So if we recognize what's driving us and clarify our intention, the unrecognized shadows are not about an external reality, but about us. Our projections cast a long shadow on our lives. And when they do, the spring of each moment is postponed for a long winter. But if we examine our perceptions, each moment brings forth a new world. If we lead an unexamined life, we may feel each day is different, but it's a rerun of our habits. But if we examine our life, each instant can blossom into a unique flower. So again, the work is simply, that's Michael Wenger, another teacher who I've studied with. He is also in Suzuki lineage. So doing the work to excavate so that we can be present, and that act of being present, drive as if every life depended upon it, because it does. Dr. Hyang Chung, who is a Dharma friend of mine, has said, I think in order to heal the world, we need the wisdom of darkness. It can be the wisdom of the third world, dark people, women, or our shadows. All the things we do not want to confront within ourselves, so we project upon others. I think we need endarkenment to heal the world. So to whatever extent we get to know that tacit knowing, what in Buddhism is that a storehouse consciousness, the alaya consciousness. There's many seeds in that alaya consciousness. It's the seeds of the memory of what it is to hold the space for that newborn life coming in, to respond instinctually with fierce compassion. And then there are also in that storehouse consciousness, there are other patterns that we might have picked up unconsciously from what's going on in the news cycle of the world, and some of which we don't need. So our meditation practice is very precious in helping us to connect to the power of the dark Tara, that knowing beyond knowing, Prajna Paramita. There's so much strength in that tacit knowing. I think about it sometimes as that we are both the particle of consciousness and then also the wave. And we make the mistake of thinking that we're just the particle, that we're lonely, alone, separate, anxious. And when we do that, we cut ourselves off from the truth of being the wave, being the rabbit. When we are in the place of being the wave, we are Tara. There's a traditional koan in Soto Zen, which is used as a teaching tool to help us to understand this point. This younger student asks his teacher, how is it that the Bodhisattva has 1,000 eyes and hands? And he responds, the teacher says it's like reaching back for a pillow in the middle of the night. The student says, now I understand. The teacher says, what is it then that you think you've got? And the student says, all across the body are the hands and eyes. The teacher says, you've said well, but that's only part. So the student says, what then? The teacher says, throughout the body are hands and eyes. There's no part of us that doesn't respond. So that capacity to respond depends upon our tacit knowing. And through contemplation, we gain greater access to these subterranean, subtle ways of knowing. We regain our understanding that we are not an individual who is protecting the mountain, because that's just overwhelming. We are the mountain protecting itself, as John Seed said. So here's a poem from Rosemary Watola Trummer called Safety Net. This morning, I woke thinking of all the people I love and all the people they love, and how big the net of lovers. It felt so clear, all those invisible ties interwoven like silken threads, strong enough to make a mesh that for thousands of years has been woven and rewoven to catch us all. Sometimes we go on as if we forget about it, believing only in the fall. But the net is just as real. Every day, with every small kindness, with every generous act, we strengthen it. Notice even now how, as the whole world seems to be falling, it is there for us as we walk the day's tightrope. How every tie matters. So each of you, with your own ancient heart, can rest in that net, and then also know we are part of that. We're contributing to that. And the Tao Te Ching, there's a piece that speaks to that dark, the dark of the womb. The valley spirit never dies. It is called the mysterious female. The opening of the mysterious female is called the root of heaven and earth, continuous on the brink of existence. To put it into practice, don't try to force it. So that womb of totality, the matrix of creation, the Prajna Paramita, there's so much power there. And it's a kind of inner knowing that we all have access to. And the reason that it's so powerful is it predates, in a way, it predates Taoism, it predates Buddhism. But we need a practice in order to overcome our conditioned response. This is from Rilke's Book of Hours, the love poems Rainer Maria Rilke wrote to God. How surely gravity's law, strong as an ocean current, takes hold of even the strongest thing and pulls it toward the heart of the world. Each thing, each stone, blossom, child is held in place. Only we, in our arrogance, push out beyond what we belong to for some empty freedom. If we surrender to Earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees. So my teacher, Zen Master Sung San, often said, every creature, every living thing understands its job. If you see the melon plant, it produces melons in season. If you kind of see the dog make contact with a stranger, it barks. The oak tree effortlessly, or with its immense natural intelligence, it produces acorns. Only human beings sometimes don't understand the human being job. So we make a little bit more complication, a little bit of trouble for the other humans and for the natural world. But when we surrender to that natural dharma, we can rise up rooted like trees, grounded in that matrix of creation. And at the root of that is this reciprocity, right relationship, living in a sustainable way with the earth, reconnecting with the natural rhythms, rediscovering our place in the Sangha of all beings. There's a friend of mine his name is Carl Bighart. He lived in Vermont for many years. And what he has said is the work is to own our humanity, but to accept this space so that we're allowing increasing authenticity of spirit to move through us. It's not about the words. It's about something that is beyond and before the words. And in those moments of connection, the prayers that come from the depth of our spirit are answered. And so finding a way to reconnect. Here I am, a simple human. May I be a vehicle for healing. And if we keep that bodhisattva vow and walk in the world with that vow, then we can be that safety net. We can be part of that matrix of creation, which gives ourselves a sense of meaning, a path of service. And as he said, may your heart open to be a gateway through which the thousand eyes and hands manifest, through which the divine pours forth a river of blessings upon the earth. He's phrasing that in a little bit different way, but that's very much on point with what Joanna Macy has said about the Dharma Gaya. That in the teaching of Paticca Samuppada, which is so central to our Buddhist path, we see in that those Pali Canon sutras that nama, rupa, mind and earth are described like two sheaves of grain resting upon each other. So that if we have an identity in Buddhism, it's not as a separate thing. It's identity as ecology, identity as coming into being together, like the mycelium of the mushrooms. The image of Indra's net. If we imagine the vertical threads of a net representing time, the horizontal ones representing space, where each of these threads is meeting, there's a crystal, and each crystal is reflecting not only every other crystal, but every reflection of every other crystal. So just in that way, we're coming into being together. That's an ecology of mind. And then out of that, we can find Sangha, like natural Dharma fellowship, that help us to break free from the illusion of separation to the truth of our connection. And out of that can come right action, which makes a sustainable future possible for our grandchildren and for the other beings. And from that place, then, creating a culture of peace, a culture of justice and healing. As United Religions Initiative says, let us come together to speak out against the separation of violence. Let's stand in solidarity and let's teach the path of respect for all religions, all beings, all cultures. Okay, so I'm going to open it up now for any kind of questions that there might be. Questions, comments, clarifications.
Hey, Elizabeth, let me make sure you can unmute. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I am wondering if you have some particular, perhaps dedication, prayer that's earth based on what you're saying around connection, that I might integrate into my practice as a regular recitation.
I do have there's a couple that I like, and I mean, I think that they do I think there's a couple of them that do kind of touch onto that, although maybe not exclusively. There's a dedication prayer I like by Chagdal Tulku. The first one I'm going to share, though, is a poem by Rainer Maria Rilke, another poem from his Book of Hours that I often use as an aspiration. I believe in all that has never yet been spoken. I want to free what waits within me. So what no one has dared to wish for may for once spring clear without my contriving. If this is arrogant, Lord, forgive me, but this is what I have to say. May what I do flow from me like a river, without forcing and without holding back, the way that it is with children. Then I will sing you as no one ever has, flowing through widening channels into the open sea. I'm going to put into the chat the Chagdab Tulku aspiration that I often use. It's not Earth specific actually, but it's still a good one.
Thank you.
And then there's a dedication of merit that comes from Joanna Macy that is very earth-centered, and is appropriate actually for this point in the talk. May all places be held sacred. May all beings be cherished. May all injustices of oppression and devaluation be fully righted, remedied, and healed. May all wounds to forest, rivers, deserts, oceans, all wounds to Mother Earth be lovingly restored to bountiful health. May all beings everywhere delight in whale song, bird song, and blue sky. May all beings abide in peace and well-being, awaken and be free. So I'll put that in the chat. Any other questions, curiosities? Yeah, Karen.
Hello, Hyang. Thank you so much for teaching today. Good to see you. Your picture of the whales reminded me of a quote that's by Glennon Doyle, who is an author and an activist. And it is that there's no such thing as other people's children. So there's no such thing as other people's children, which I think says so much about, I mean, it's Prajna Paramita, it's a bodhisattva way that, you know, we can't look upon who we consider our own children, whether they're biological or connected to us. We can't look at them differently than all of the children in the world. And so she argues that, you know, the health of a society is measured by how it protects and nurtures all children. And that whale picture made me think of that quote. And, you know, she not only writes, but she has a group called Together Rising that raises a lot of money and is very tactical help to any ongoing tragedy or something that comes up at the moment, especially that involves children and refugees. So she talks the talks and walks the walk, so to speak.
That's a great resource. Yeah, I think it's always about how can we expand. Einstein said that once, that we, you know, as humans, we're part of this whole that is called by us consciousness. But because of this optical illusion of separateness, we restrict our affection to those closest to us. And the work is to continue to break through that, to see to see the truth of our connection. So I think that's the reason that the Metta Sutra begins: just as a mother at the risk of her own life would watch over and protect her only child. Because when we tap into that, we're tapping into some ancient heart that we know that we have. And strengthening that connection, strengthening our capacity to respond, to be available. Then the next innermost request of the moment will become clear. And that compassion will find the right way to express. Yes, Victoria.
Good morning, Gian. It's really wonderful to see you again. When I saw your name, I thought I need to sign up for that because I always get something, and I'm glad I was here. I'm very sorry for your recent illness. That makes it hard to talk for an hour and a half. But thank you for getting through all that. Um, there were there were so many things that I saw on your slides and that you talked about that I really appreciated. And I'm just going to have to go buy the Rilke book. I don't have that one yet. So there were several references. I don't know that I have a question, but I just felt that what you have shared this morning is very powerful and important. And I will spend some time pondering that. It's very useful, I think. So thank you. I just want to say thank you for what you've shared.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much, Victoria. Glad to see you too. I just put the slides into the chat so as to make it more easily accessible, to integrate. And actually, I'll show the last slide, which is that there is coming up, if this particular aspect of Dharma that connects to the earth is resonating, I'm going to be teaching with Vipassana teacher Rochelle Calvert on touching the earth in August at Lovely Omega as a way to use our practices to reconnect with the wildness that is in our spirit. My work as a whole can be found at mountainpath.org, my website. There's some modules of spiritual care for those at end of life and trauma sensitive spiritual care that I'm going to be making available. Many of you know that I've been teaching directing the MDiv program at Naropa University. This summer, I'm going to move my work over to University of the West. But being aware that there's many people in our communities who are doing hospice work or caring for their loved ones who might benefit from some of that spiritual care teaching structure. I'm creating these online lecture modules that are available. So if that is something of interest, you can feel free to reach out. It's a great supplement to the core Dharma teaching that you're receiving at Wonderwell. So yeah, I think that covers it. And so I'm just going to then turn this over to Laura for the Wonderwell talk that the host gives.
Thank you, Ji Hyang. Yeah, I'll put a link in the chat. So if you wish to give Donna to support our ability to continue to offer Dharma Sunday and invite wonderful teachers such as Ji Hyang, I'm going to put that in the chat right now. But I'm just happy to see everybody.
Richard, question?
Yeah, not a question, but just kind of want to say pretty much what Victoria said, how grateful I am for the thoughtfulness and the care that went into pulling together this wonderful Dharma talk. I had a chance to study the little bit about this branching streams Sandokai treatise with Fu Schroeder last August. She taught a month-long course out of the San Francisco Zen Center, and it's had a deep influence on my understanding and practice. And I was delighted when I saw that you would be offering it in our precious NDF container. And it's just, I'm very grateful for your perspectives on this teaching. Three things in particular, just the way that you've managed to share this in a very ecumenical, almost interfaith sort of way is deeply appreciated. The visual images I found to be very poignant and really, I think, help to elevate and enhance the power of these teachings. And then finally, I just want to say I express my gratitude for your mentioning the community in Garden Grove. I first came into the Dharma over 30 years ago. I was a Vietnamese-born teacher who had just left Plum Village and landed in all places in Connecticut. And he's been my root teacher for many, many years now. First retreat I ever went to was at Omega with Thich Nhat Hanh, and it was a veterans retreat. But not limited to veterans. They brought in medical professionals, people who had lived in Vietnam during the war. And I will never forget how moved I was by the collective suffering everybody involved with that war had experienced. And just one last quick anecdote. I'm reminded of an old friend of mine who the spiritual center in Connecticut was also very much a cultural center for the people who had been part of the Vietnamese diaspora. And I was blessed to have many Vietnamese and Vietnamese American friends. And I'll never forget, I was at the pagoda on the 25th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. And this lovely gentleman who I just knew him as one of our Dharma, siblings, and I knew he was an engineer at Pratt and Whitney. But that day he pulled me aside and he said to me, Richard, I don't know if you knew this, I was a colonel in the South Vietnamese Army during the war. And his eyes immediately welled up with tears. And all he added to that was, I saw things no human being should ever have to see. So to think of the Vietnamese American community in that Garden Grove area, I appreciate your acknowledging and naming the trauma that many of them carry. And I would hope as part of our dedication we could keep in mind those people, and that hopefully they're not being re-traumatized through all the events going on there. So again, thank you for your beautiful teaching.
Thank you. Thank you. So then just dedicating the merit of the talk to the Garden Grove area community, to our brothers and sisters who are in a perilous place. May they be well. May they be held in loving kindness. May they feel our love now. May they dwell in joy and safety. May they have deep and natural peace. May there be peace in our land, harmony among nations, and may the benefit, the merit of our practice extend equally to every being and place that we may together awaken and help all beings. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.